Hello, everyone. I am Symone Sanders, Senior Advisor for the Biden for President campaign. And who's here with me? Lily, tell the people who you are.
I'm currently muted, was what I was. I'm Lily Adams. I'm an advisor to the DNC War Room, where we focus on all things Trump. So we're excited to be here to fact check the president's speech tonight.
Absolutely. We are here to fact check the current president of the United States at the Republican National Convention tonight, because inevitably, throughout President Trump's speech tonight, he is not going to tell the truth. He is going to lie. And when he does, we will be here to break in and tell you the truth. So, unfortunately, I mean, Lily, how many times did the Washington Post say that the president has lied? How many lies has he told in office?
Thousands and thousands, Symone. But also, we've just seen lie after lie in this convention. The last 4 days, it's just been all lies. They lied about small things. Who signed the Declaration of Independence? They lied about big things, saying that Donald Trump was a healthcare president. I mean, they'll lie about anything.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, last night, Vice President Mike Pence said, you will not be safe in Joe Biden's America, when this America that we are currently living in is Donald Trump's America, and people aren't safe here. So we will be here to bring the facts, bring the information. We thank you all for tuning in wherever you are. And let's get a little bit of this speech. So let's listen in to the president. He is speaking right now, and let's hear what he has to say.
In Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, sparing no effort to save lives. While the hurricane was fierce, one of the strongest to make landfall in 150 years, the casualties and damage were far less than thought possible only 24 hours ago. And this is due to the great work of FEMA, law enforcement, and the individual states. I will be going this weekend, and congratulations, thank you for that great job out there. We really appreciate it. We are one national family, and we will always protect, love, and care for each other. Here tonight are the people who have made my journey possible and filled my life with so much joy. For her incredible service to our nation and its children, I want to thank our magnificent First Lady.
So, Lily, while the president is giving greetings, as we would like to call it where I'm from, I'd like to note that this speech from the RNC is currently taking place at the White House. And this is, I mean, not normal is an understatement, but this is a blatant violation of the Hatch Act. Like, this is, I think folks watching should understand that this has never happened before. This is unprecedented, like many things we've experienced throughout this presidency. But this is certainly not above board.
But I would also say, Symone, too, he's got 1,500 people right there at the White House, not social distancing, not taking any mask precautions seriously. But this is what we've seen from him, that he will put his own political gain ahead of the healthcare and well-being of the American people. That's what's just, it's so blatant that he just doesn't care. He doesn't care that there are 180,000 people who have died of COVID. He doesn't care that we're about to hit 6 million cases. What he cares about is his poll numbers.
Exactly. So I don't know if we'll hear a word about COVID-19 tonight. I don't know if we will hear the word coronavirus, but folks just watching, no one in that crowd is wearing a mask. This is, I mean, we talk a lot about how Donald Trump doesn't exhibit leadership, and this is yet another example. So let's listen in to hear what else the president has to say. But just reminding everyone that, one, what's happening at the White House right now is a violation of the Hatch Act. And I know folks don't even know what the Hatch Act is, but it is basically saying you should not be engaging in political activity in your official role in the United States government, the federal government, especially at the White House. And COVID-19 is still with us. The coronavirus is very real, and no one at the White House currently is wearing a mask, and they are not social distancing. Let's listen in.
Full of gratitude and boundless optimism, I profoundly accept this nomination for President of the United States.
Lily, no masks. Do you see a mask? I do not see a mask.
Not seeing one mask. And also, it's just worth remembering, these folks are going to leave this event and then they're going to be exposed to a whole thousands of other people. It's a super spreader event.
And the Americans paid for it.
And anyone who believes in the greatness of America and the righteous heart of the American people. In a new term as president, we will again build the greatest economy in history, quickly returning to full employment, soaring incomes, and record prosperity.
So, Symone, I think it's worth mentioning, now that he's talking about the economy, that he has been the worst jobs president in our country's history. He's lost 6 million jobs on his watch.
And not only that, Lily, he doesn't have a plan. So right now, he just made a claim that if he's reelected, he will bring America to full employment. How? He has yet to articulate his plan on how he'd do that. Right now, 16 million people are out of work in this country. So it's just really astounding that the president is standing at the White House right now in the midst of multiple crises in this country, chief among them an economic and public health crisis, also a climate crisis and a crisis of racial injustice in this country. And he's just, it's like he's not trafficking in the truth.
He's living in a completely alternate universe. And that's been the hallmark of this convention. They're all just pretending that just like they hope the coronavirus will go away, all these other problems will just go away if they imagine it hard enough.
Known all over the world as the People's House, we cannot help but marvel at the miracle that is our great American story. This has been the home of larger-than-life figures like Teddy Roosevelt and Andrew Jackson, who rallied Americans to bold visions of a bigger and brighter future. Within these walls lived tenacious generals like President Grant and Eisenhower, who led our soldiers in the cause of freedom. From these grounds, Thomas Jefferson sent Lewis and Clark on a daring expedition to cross a wild and uncharted continent. In the depths of a bloody civil war, President Abraham Lincoln looked out these very windows upon a half-completed Washington Monument and asked God in his providence to save our nation. 2 weeks after Pearl Harbor, Franklin Delano Roosevelt welcomed Winston Churchill, and just inside, they set our people on a course to victory in the Second World War. In recent months,
don't you find it amazing, Symone, that he's listing off all these presidents who have seen us through tough times, who have told the American people the truth, and literally he has none of the qualities that some of our best presidents have ever had, because he's just, not facing up to the crises that are, Americans are living with every day.
He's simply not up to the task. And we heard last week at the Democratic National Convention, our forever First Lady, Michelle Obama, state just that. So it is truly remarkable. I think what we hear President Trump doing is setting, he's talking about a long line of presidents who have, to your point, faced multiple crises and successfully navigated through them. And he's setting up the audience as though he himself is one of these presidents, that he himself stands in the long line of these presidents. But yet again, we know that Donald Trump has really failed America on his watch. He has failed to contain the coronavirus. He has failed. Look, children in Washington, D.C. and in places all across this country are going to school on Monday. And some of them are physically walking into classrooms, and the Department of Education does not have a plan for them. Okay, they have not spoken and worked with municipalities and local school districts and teachers and mayors and city council folks to really, the federal government has not been a good faith partner here. So it's just truly astounding what we're witnessing.
Don't you also think, though, as he's listing through the presidents, it's also remarkable that there is no living president who has done this same job who believes that this man should be reelected? Not presidents of the Republican Party, not nominees from the Republican Party, not Democratic presidents. I mean, there is nobody who has sat in that Oval Office who thinks, yeah, give this guy another 4 years.
I mean, it's truly, I mean, look, the folks who have done the job know it best. And obviously, everything President Trump has done over the last 4 years has indicated that he is, in fact, not up to the job. He is not up to the task. But furthermore, and I think the most damning part about all of it is that he has not indicated a willingness to want to learn, to want to act differently, to want to be better for the American people.
Two philosophies or two agendas. This election will decide whether we save the American dream or whether we allow a socialist agenda to demolish our cherished destiny.
The dog, see, Lily, your dog in the background didn't like that statement. He was unhappy. So here we have President Trump setting up his contrast, okay, trying to paint Vice President Biden as a socialist. And so the reality is that we knew that this was an attack that was going to happen. Whoever the Democratic nominee was going to be, the Republicans are going to try to paint them as socialists. And here we have the attack on Vice President Biden. Not true.
Yeah, it's not true. And it doesn't square with any of what people know about Joe Biden. And it doesn't square with how he ran in this primary that you and I obviously watched very closely.
To completely dismantle and destroy it. That won't happen. At the Democrat National Convention, Joe Biden and his party repeatedly assailed America as a land of racial, economic, and social injustice. So tonight I ask you a simple question. How can the Democrat Party ask to lead our country when it spends so much time tearing down our country?
I'm jumping in to note that this is just not true. You know, last week was so full of hope, Lily, throughout our convention, where we highlighted real folks across the country, but we also did not gloss over the multiple crises that folks are dealing with. Again, we do have an economic crisis. We are in the midst of a public health crisis. California is literally burning. The climate crisis is real, and so is the crisis of race in America. And so it was hopeful. It was full of light. As Vice President Biden said, he's an ally of the light, but we did not gloss over the real issues that this country is facing.
Well, it's also, Symone, that, as you know, and I know, and as Vice President Biden knows, this country's founders even knew it was imperfect. It's why we created amendments to even the Constitution. So the idea that he continues to gloss over and say that anybody criticizing or trying to make America better is criticizing America is just flat out wrong. And he knows it.
Joe Biden is not a savior of America's soul. He is the destroyer of America's jobs, and if given the chance, he will be the destroyer of American greatness.
I feel like you want to jump in here.
Did you see my face? So first of all, Vice President Biden says, we are in a battle for the soul of this nation. And nowhere has he noted that he is the savior, but we have to do this together. This is something I don't think the president understands, because he makes everything about himself, whereas Vice President Biden and Senator Harris uniquely understand that this is about the American people. And secondly, is when it comes to this jobs claim, for example, look, the Obama-Biden administration created more jobs than this president has. So let's just be factual here. The booming economy that President Trump likes to talk about, that is the economy that the Obama-Biden administration left him, that he squandered. He squandered his goodwill, much like he squandered other things in his life throughout his career. And again, yet now we're in the midst of a pandemic that no, he did not cause, but his literal inability to lead us through this crisis, to get this virus under control, has contributed to the 16 million people who are currently out of work, the more than 180,000 Americans who have needlessly died from this virus. So let's just be clear about that.
Well, I'd also just say, Symone, as you remember, President Obama and Vice President Biden were not handed a great economy. They were handed a recession. And It was President Obama that put Vice President Biden in charge of the Recovery Act, of implementing it. And he did, working with mayors, working with governors to make sure that we were creating jobs and that we were building back our economy. And then they had the longest period of job growth on record. This president cannot hold a candle to that.
And this $130 billion will ultimately go to $400 billion a year. And Secretary General Stoltenberg, who heads NATO, was amazed after watching. From the moment I left my former life behind, and it was a good life, I have done nothing but fight for you.
This is not true. Look, there are multiple examples of Trump's own former administration officials detailing how in meeting after meeting after meeting, meetings that he was engaging in or should have been engaging in on behalf of the American people, took time to advocate for himself. And one of the most recent meetings that we know about, given John Bolton's book, is in fact a meeting he had with President Xi, the Chinese president, where he literally asked him to help himself for our political reasons. So let's just be very clear here. Donald Trump, not one moment during the time that he has been president, has fought for the American people. He has squarely and always stood in this space for himself.
Oh, completely agree. And if he was not fighting for himself, the people that he was advocating for were the richest 1% in our country and the biggest corporations in our country. That's what the tax bill that he passed did, where millions and millions of taxpayer dollars flowed to the richest folks in our country, the biggest corporations in our country. When you look at that PPP program that was supposed to help small businesses after COVID, you're seeing there are businesses that are owned by Chinese nationals who got millions of dollars in relief that should have gone to small businesses. There are big corporations, like I remember some of the NBA teams were getting bailouts. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
We passed record-setting tax and regulation cuts at a rate
for the wealthy
had ever seen before. Within 3 short years, we built the strongest economy in the history of the world.
Not true right now. Nope.
16 million people are out of work.
Also, the biggest contraction in the U.S. economy on his watch.
Yes, talk about the worst drop in GDP for GDP in a quarter in history. Okay, was this quarter on Trump's watch? Yes, 32%. What is going on?
He's giving a speech that belongs on Earth 2, where like none of the last 9 months have happened.
Agreed. And as many of our advanced friends have pointed out via text to us and online, the flags are not ironed.
It's true. They're not steamed. I saw at Senator Harris's event, who will be our next vice president, those flags look nice. They look
flags were pristine, honey. Very pristine.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, auto companies and others are building their plants and factories in America, not firing their employees and not deserting.
I just have to jump in here. Manufacturing jobs are down under Trump. We've lost hundreds of thousands of manufacturing jobs on his watch.
No area did the Washington special interests try harder to stop us than on my policy of pro-American immigration. But I refuse to back down, and today America's borders are more secure than ever before. Thank you. We ended catch and release, stopped asylum fraud, took down human traffickers who prey on women and children, and we have deported 20,000 gang members and 500,000 criminal aliens.
Just to jump in, Symone, you were mentioning the Democratic convention, and we heard from a young girl whose father was deported after serving this country. And that's actually the story of this administration, is him attempting to deport dreamers and people who've only known this country as their own. But also, just a quick fact, he's only built 5 miles of new wall. He has not.
And Mexico did not pay for it, Lily. Mexico did not pay for the wall.
Still waiting for that check.
Border Patrol Union, representing our country's courageous border agents, thank you very much for being here. Thank you. Brave, brave people.
I'm sorry. I just cannot get over the fact that there are people crowded onto the lawn of the White House. No one wearing a mask, no one socially distant. The coronavirus is literally killing people right now. I just heard a story of another friend, a friend who lost yet another family member to COVID-19. At this point, we all know someone who has lost someone to the coronavirus. We all know someone who has been affected in some way, shape, or form. This is just so wildly irresponsible. I don't know how the Trump campaign, let alone the Trump administration, can stand before the American people and note that they have a plan to contain or mitigate COVID-19. Guess what? They can't, because they haven't done it. But this is just so wildly irresponsible. It is really just jarring for me.
Well, also, Symone, think of all the people who have had to watch their family members pass away from a distance, or had to do a Zoom funeral, which is now something that exists in this country, or couldn't celebrate a birthday with their loved ones or a wedding. I mean, why does everybody else in this country have to live by one set of rules, and this president thinks he's above all the rules, above all the laws, and he can do whatever he wants?
You've been through a lot. Thank you very much. Last month, I took on Big Pharma. You think that's easy? It's not.
Now, Lily, did he take on Big Pharma?
Nope, didn't do that. He passed some executive orders that literally did nothing. And if you don't believe me, ask the drug companies who said they would not yield lower drug prices.
Long-awaited right to try.
Sorry, got to come back in. He again tried to claim credit for what President Obama did, which was pass VA choice. He's done this again and again. It's a bill that President Obama and Vice President Biden got passed.
I mean, look, there were multiple speakers throughout the night that talked about, I heard a lot about HBCUs. Okay, that was a bill that Alma Adams, Congresswoman from North Carolina, that she championed and passed, and that Donald Trump just signed. Okay, so taking credit for other people's work, again, something that is not new to this president.
Great new Supreme Court justices. And to bring prosperity to our forgotten inner cities, we worked hard to pass historic criminal justice reform, prison reform.
Let me also just say this. You know, the president takes a lot of pride, and his allies take a lot of pride in taking, victory laps, noting that they passed the First Step Act. Well, first of all, the First Step Act was just that, a first step, but also the Trump administration has yet to allocate 1 penny of their budget to the First Step Act. And so, as Vice President Biden always says, show me your budget and I will show you your priorities. And so it's actually not a priority. And furthermore, you talk about really creating change in the system for folks right now as it relates to both criminal justice reform broader and also police reform. Look, in the Obama-Biden administration, their Justice Department entered into what's known as consent decrees, and specifically in places like Ferguson and Baltimore. That is the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division. These consent decrees were brought about after pattern or practice investigations. It's currently the only mechanism that we currently have in this country that the federal government has to hold rogue police departments accountable. Do you know how many pattern or practice investigations the Trump administration has opened up in 4 years? 1. Do you know how many new consent decrees they have entered into with police departments in this country? 0. Okay, so let's talk about really making gains and change on criminal justice reform. And the consent decrees, I'll tell you, Lily, are important because that is a contract, if you will, between the Department of Justice, Civil Rights Division, and these police departments. It is the thing that holds them accountable to actually create and make change. This is just despicable.
Absolutely. It's a check. I mean, as you're saying, it's a contract. It's a way to hold folks accountable. But I'll also say in his rhetoric, I mean, you remember some of those speeches that he's given in front of law enforcement, encouraging them to rough up people, encouraging people at his rallies to rough up protesters. These have consequences.
Thank you very much. When I took office, the Middle East was in total chaos. ISIS was rampaging, Iran was on the rise, and the war in Afghanistan had no end in sight. I withdrew from the terrible one-sided Iran nuclear deal.
I want to jump in before this and note that, the president did, while we were chatting, the president cited that he was touting the lowest unemployment rates ever for several different demographics. But I'd like to note that the Black unemployment rate fell more than 9 points under the Obama-Biden administration from the peak of the recession. And it only fell less than 2 under Trump. And now Black unemployment, let's just be clear, is twice as high as it was when Trump took office. I don't know if those are the results the American people are looking for, Lily.
I think that's right. And now you hear he's talking about foreign policy. And I will just tell you, Symone, I think last I checked, there was not peace in the Middle East. Last I checked, when he got out of the Iran nuclear agreement, that was just a big green light for Iran to develop a nuclear weapon. So no, we are not safer. No, we are not.
Many things like that government is doing right now. We also recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights. And this month we achieved the first Middle East peace deal in 25 years. Thank you to UAE. Thank you to Israel. In addition, we obliterated 100% of the ISIS caliphate and killed its founder and leader, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi.
So the reality is, the president often likes to talk about how he has obliterated ISIS, that ISIS is gone, and that's just absolutely not true. And so this is just yet another example of him taking him making blanket statements and trying to pass them off as facts. And we are here, ladies and gentlemen, tonight to make sure that these statements do not slip through the cracks or slide under the radar. We're here to help, hold the president accountable.
Well, I'd also say, I mean, Symone, you were on a call with Mayor Buttigieg this morning, and he said something I thought was pretty right, which is that now there's a lot of the world that feels sorry for America because of the lack of leadership that we have on the global stage. We've alienated our allies. We've emboldened folks like Putin. And so the whole world feels less safe. It's not just us.
I mean, exactly. I mean, look, the president's unenforced red lines with Iran. He's speaking about Iran. The president's unenforced red lines with Iran really gave Iran the green light and its proxies, frankly, to escalate attacks on the United States. So it's not just us, but I mean, it is the president's actions are ripple effects. So folks out there who are asking themselves, does who the president is, who the vice president is, does it really matter? Does it really affect our everyday lives? And I would argue the answer is absolutely unequivocally yes. This election is about a number of things, Donald Trump's conduct, but he has entered into a disastrous foreign policy. He's undertaken a disastrous effort as it relates to foreign policy. And that is why, frankly, Biden-Harris administration will be so important, because Vice President Biden and Kamala Harris on day one are going to have to do a lot of cleaning up, not just with our allies, but really reasserting ourselves on the world stage.
Well, and I'll just say, I mean, Symone, you know this better than I, but there's almost no one in politics who has greater respect for the men and women who sacrifice so much for us than Vice President Biden. And meanwhile, you have President Trump, who turned a blind eye when Russia was putting bounties on the heads of American service members, did not raise it when he was on the phone call with President Putin. But I guess that's how it is when you're on the phone with your boss. You don't want to like ruffle feathers or like say something that might get you fired.
Exactly. I mean, this is just actually like remarkable. As you noted, this speech is being given on Earth too. I'd also like to note about ISIS, Lily, that Vice President Biden, as vice president, helped put together the global coalition to defeat ISIS. Okay, so this is work he has been doing for a long time, and again, the President Trump just. He doesn't know what's happening here. Let's listen in. Let's hear what he's saying right now. I think he's talking about a trade deal in South Korea. Let's listen in.
He oversaw the rise of ISIS and cheered the rise of China as a positive development for America and the world, some positive development. That's why China supports Joe Biden and desperately wants him to win. I can tell you that upon very good information.
This is not true.
I mean, it's just not true. Also, I mean, back when the coronavirus was first coming to light, who was praising China's handling of the coronavirus? Donald Trump.
Donald Trump and trafficking in the Chinese government's propaganda about the virus. Let's just be very clear here, Lily.
Has been hit by the once-in-a-century pandemic that China allowed to spread around the globe. They could have stopped it, but they allowed it to come out.
And what did Donald Trump do? We're not about to hear any accountability, but I will note that how long are we into this speech, Lily? What, it's 10:56? We're maybe about, 30, 40 minutes into this speech, and we're finally talking about COVID-19. We're finally going to hear about the coronavirus. I don't know if we will hear any truths about the virus, but we are going to hear about it.
But also, I know we're going to hear a lie if we haven't already, which is that he's going to claim that he shut down travel from China. He did not. There are 400,000 people who came directly from China once COVID hit. And even once he put the restrictions in, the so-called restrictions, 40,000 more people came to the United States on direct flights from China. This is a lie.
An absolute lie. And let's also just say, the fact is that Chinese government officials have said that they want Trump to win re-election because of the damage he is doing to global alliances. So, come on.
And when the China virus hit, we launched the largest national mobilization since World War II, invoking the Defense Production Act.
No, he didn't. He had to get dragged by who? Vice President Biden, who recommended that he invoke the Defense Production Act so much earlier than he did.
Good job heading the task force by our great Vice President. Thank you very much.
Hold on a second. Okay. Are we really telling Vice President Mike Pence good job on heading the task force? Let us remind the people, Lily, nearly 6 million cases of COVID-19 right here in America, nearly 180,000 Americans dead. 16 million people currently out of work. At one point in time, there were 20 million people in this country who were out of work. Just the other day, I think it was yesterday, the CDC changed its guidelines while Dr. Fauci was on the table under anesthesia, about testing and who needed to be tested. We don't need to be limiting testing in this country, as Vice President Biden said today. We need more testing. So the reality is that the president and the vice president have failed to get COVID under control. They have failed to contain this virus. They have failed to have a plan. No one should be praising Mike Pence's work here. Americans are dead, and those are deaths that did not have to happen.
100%. And just to add on, I saw a photo today of a meeting of that coronavirus task force that Mike Pence was holding. And I'll tell you who was not there, Dr. Fauci.
We need to be listening to Dr. Fauci.
Effective treatments, including a powerful antibody treatment, known as convalescent plasma. You saw that?
Oh, Lily. Okay, we need to jump in. Okay, because I do not want folks listening here to think that what the president is currently saying about convalescent plasma should be taken as the truth. We do not know the effects of convalescent plasma on COVID-19. Why? Because the proper trials have not been ran. This is just like, his claims about hydroxychloroquine. This is the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, he's done this throughout the coronavirus pandemic. He keeps sort of touting these untested cures. And you know what? It's dangerous. You remember, Symone, all those stories of folks who have taken his advice, who have taken medication without supervision that wasn't tested, and they've gotten into more trouble.
Have experienced a 30% greater increase in excess mortality than the United States. Think of that. We enacted the largest package of financial relief in American history.
One other point, Symone, I know, as you know, I mean, the United States has, I think, 4% of the world's population and 22% of the world's coronavirus deaths. I think the vice president pointed out today that this is the deadliest 4 months. More Americans have died in this 4 months than at any point in our nation's history. So this is nothing to be proud of.
Exactly. I mean, look, Trump is trying to claim that Europe is facing higher deaths than the US from coronavirus. But since the start of July, Americans have died at a rate 6 times higher than other wealthy nations. This is, I mean, he said that this is a once in a century pandemic. This is a once in a century, like, failure. I not remember a time in my little young life, Lily, that we have had a president that has just truly dropped the ball and failed the American people in this way. He also touted an increase in testing, and I'm here to remind folks that our testing did lag behind almost every other developed nation. Early on, and what was it? Because of a failed test from his administration, Donald Trump's, which also allowed the virus to spread undetected in the United States. So let's just be clear about why we now have, by far, the most cases and the most deaths.
Well, also, this is a president who, you'll remember, Symone, at every moment is like, slow the testing down. If we have less testing, we will have less cases. And you know what? That had a real impact.
Would be measured
Absolutely.
Drug overdoses, depression, alcohol addiction, suicides, heart attacks, economic devastation, job loss, and much more. Joe Biden's plan is not a solution to the virus, but rather it's a surrender to the virus.
Are you kidding me? No. Vice President Biden's plan is a robust, regular testing for Americans across this country. His plan is also, his plan is listening to the scientists, is leading with the facts. It is not a failure. Vice President Biden's plan is a plan of action. But what is Donald Trump's plan, Lily? Have we heard Donald Trump's plan tonight? No, because he does not have one.
No, his plan is to hope that it goes away. I mean, every single month, as we have all been stuck in our homes and not able to see our family and wearing masks everywhere, he continues to say, it's going to disappear. It's going to go away. It will miraculously disappear. Remember when it was supposed to go away in the summer because of the weather?
Oh, yes, because it was hot. Or do you remember when he opined in the White House briefing room if bleach would help, erase the virus, or maybe sunlight? I mean, look, this is why having a president that knows what they are doing is extremely important. And this is why I think folks should be, if you are watching this tonight and you don't like what the president is saying, I want you to text VOTE, VOTE, to 30330 so you can make your plan to vote this November for Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, but also down the ticket and make your plan to vote early, because this is extremely important. Joe Biden has a plan to mitigate COVID-19. It's about testing. It's about truly operationalizing the Defense Production Act. It's about working with governors and mayors across the country to make sure that they have the resources that they need. It's not about wishing the virus away.
Well, I'd also say, Symone, I mean, we also are dealing with, I don't think we've heard in this speech yet. I know we've been going in and out, but we certainly haven't heard a lot in this convention, any sort of empathy for the families who have lost loved ones. And that's something that is such a stark contrast for Vice President Biden and Senator Harris, who know very well what it's like to lose a loved one.
A $4 trillion tax hike on almost all American families, which will totally collapse our rapidly improving economy and once again record stock markets that we have right now will also collapse. That means your 401ks, that means all of the stocks that you have. On the other hand, just as I did in my first term, I will cut taxes even further for hardworking moms and dads. I will not raise taxes. I will cut them. And
I just want to jump in because Trump keeps talking about that before the pandemic hit, he created the best economy ever. But the truth is, Lily, that job and wage growth, okay, it slowed, honey. Manufacturing, it was in a recession and other industries lagged and Americans were struggling to pay their bills before the pandemic. He had a fragile economy, and that's why the impact of COVID-19 was even worse. So he failed to achieve 3% GDP growth in his first 3 years. Like, come on.
My agenda is made in the USA.
I'd also say, I mean, the other thing that we're hearing is just complete lies about what Vice President Biden and Senator Harris want to do. I mean, they've been fact-checked, 6 ways to Sunday about all these claims that they want to raise taxes. They do not want to raise taxes on working people.
Not at all.
To abolish the production of American oil, coal, shale, and natural gas, laying waste to the economies of Pennsylvania, Ohio, Texas, North Dakota, Oklahoma, Colorado, and New Mexico, destroying those states, absolutely destroying those states and others. Millions of
Okay, I just want to jump in and note that
these same policies led
to abolish national production. So the president is lying. He is blatantly lying to the American people, making blatant statements that are not true.
But also, I mean, I would say the other thing on energy is that Donald Trump has buried his head in the sand and is not sort of waking up to the reality of climate change and the possibilities that are green jobs, green energy jobs in this country. That's something where he's like living in the Stone Age on this.
I mean, honestly, that's why in Vice President Biden's Build Back Better plan, his economic plan for working families and folks all over this country, he not only mentioned clean energy jobs and infrastructure, he laid out a whole plan specifically to create new clean energy jobs that will be good paying union jobs and rebuild our infrastructure. And guess what? Infrastructure in a Biden-Harris administration means broadband, also roads and bridges and trains, but broadband, Lily, something I think we can all appreciate in this world we're currently living in.
Well, and I think, Symone, the other thing, just as you're watching the speech, he's making a lot of promises. And he did a lot of promising 4 years ago, too. Like, for instance, he said he was going to bring back jobs from China. He's not bringing back jobs from China. He's not doing that. There's 250,000 fewer factory jobs now than there were then.
And this is a claim he also made in 2016. One could argue there's a pattern here of not telling the truth.
He also supports deadly sanctuary cities that protect criminal aliens. He promised to end national security travel bans from jihadist nations, and he pledged to increase refugee admissions by 700%. This is in the manifesto. The Biden plan would eliminate America's...
I'm sorry, Lily, what is the manifesto? So let me just, okay, folks, for folks watching, what Donald Trump is saying, he is fear-mongering right now. He is essentially painting immigrants as folks who we don't want in this country. And let me just be really clear. I mean, look, Senator Kamala Harris is a child of immigrants. So we know that this country, immigrants are part of what makes America great. And Donald Trump obviously does not understand that.
Also, you know how many refugees they wanted to allow into the country? Refugees,
how many?
By the way, Symone, are people who are fleeing war, hunger, oppression. They wanted to allow zero. That's fewer than any Democratic or Republican administration. It's because he has people like Stephen Miller running immigration. And these are folks who think that all immigrants are bad.
He has empathy for the vulnerable, yet the party he leads supports the extreme late-term abortion of defenseless babies.
Okay, let me just jump in and say what the president is currently saying is not true. This does not happen. What the president is asserting happens. This does not happen. Doctors are not this is not happening. Okay, he's lying. This is not happening.
Refuse to protect innocent life, and then they lecture us about morality and saving America's soul. Tonight, we proudly declare that all children, born and unborn, have a...
I will just tell you, Symone, I mean, it is rich, and I'm not going to take a lecture on caring for children from someone who literally separated children from their parents at the border, who ripped them from their parents so that they had to be alone. I mean, I got to be honest, it's too much to take.
During the Democrat convention, the words "under God" were removed from the Pledge of Allegiance.
This is a lie. This is a
Also not
lie.
true.
The Pledge of Allegiance was said, as it's always said, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is a lie. The president is lying.
Just like we said it in grade school. It was done the exact same way.
If the left gains power, they will demolish the suburbs, confiscate your guns, and appoint justices who will wipe away your Second Amendment and other constitutional freedoms.
Not true. Not true. Okay, this abolish the suburbs line. It's like someone showed the president polling that says we're losing the suburbs, and he's like, okay, I just need to repeat suburbs. A Biden-Harris administration, one, would absolutely support and uphold the Second Amendment. Like, let's just be clear. But also, we need to ban assault weapons in this country. Okay, we've done that. But Joe Biden did that twice before. He's taken on the NRA twice, and he will take them on again and beat them again as president. So, really, what the president is setting up here is a false choice.
Criminals onto the streets and into your neighborhoods. When asked if he supports,
This is terrible.
Joe Biden replied, "Yes, absolutely." When Congresswoman Ilhan Omar called the Minneapolis Police Department a cancer that is rotten to the root, Biden wouldn't disavow her support and reject her endorsement. He proudly displayed it shortly later on his website.
Okay. First of all, I don't know what he's talking about. We don't post endorsements on our website, and there was no interaction with the Congresswoman. So I don't know what that's about. But let me just also say this. In interview after interview after interview, Vice President Biden has been very clear. He does not support defunding the police. What he does support is ensuring that when we talk about police reform in this country, the police departments have the resources they need to do their jobs and do them well, and that they have training. And if police departments in America, if they do not implement changes, if they do not reform, then he will not prioritize those police departments for funding. Because he feels, and I think the majority of Americans know that we need change, but we need police reform now. And there are things that the current Congress can do right now. I haven't heard President Trump talk about his plan for police reform in America. So let's just be clear about that. But this is just yet another lie from the president. Let's hear what he's saying now, because I'm sure there's more lies.
He was part of a team of American heroes called the NYPD, or New York's finest, who I was very, very proud to get their endorsement just the other day. Great people, great people. They were allowed to do their job. You'd have no crime in New York. Rudy Giuliani knows that better than anybody.
This is the thing that really gets me. Who's the president again right now? He's saying
Donald J. Trump.
That there's crime, that no one can get things under control. He's the president. Yeah. This is Donald Trump's America we are living in.
Who hated her purely for wearing the badge. Detective Familia was a single mom. She recently asked for the night shift so she could spend more time with her kids. 2 years ago, I stood in front of the U.S. Capitol alongside those beautiful children and held their grandmother's hand as they mourned their terrible loss, and we honored Detective Familia's extraordinary life. It was extraordinary. Detective Familia's 3 children are with us this evening. Genesis, Peter, Delilah, we are so grateful to have you here tonight.
I just think it's also important, Symone, to remind folks, that Joe Biden has pointed out that Donald Trump supports cutting $500 million from local police departments. $500 million. And that's been rated true by PolitiFact. So I
Absolutely.
I think to your point, I think the vice president has always said it best. Like, if I want to know your values, show me your budget. And I think it's pretty clear.
It's also disgusting what he's doing right now. No one is celebrating loss of life. And we know that police officers, men and women across this country, put their lives on the line every single day when they go out to protect and serve. And, this moment that we're currently experiencing in America with police reform and having this national conversation about race, there are officers, police departments and folks in law enforcement who want the reform, who are part of the conversation. And what Donald Trump is currently doing is trying to pit folks against one another. And it is just disgusting.
And you remember, Symone, that's what Vice President Biden and President Obama did. When they started to make reforms, they brought everybody together to figure out these issues because they are difficult problems.
Mm-hmm.
Police misconduct, the justice system must hold wrongdoers fully and completely accountable, and it will. But when we can never have a situation where things are going on as they are today, we must never allow mob rule. We can never allow mob rule.
I don't know what this is about. So let's listen in a second, because I have thoughts, Lily.
The party condemns the rioting, looting, arson, and violence.
Okay, I thought this is where he was going. Let me come back. So Donald Trump had an opportunity to speak directly to the people who are currently hurting in Kenosha, Wisconsin. He had an opportunity to speak directly to Black people in America, specifically Black men and Black mothers and Black fathers and Black children and Black people who leave their homes every single day. And look, I've frozen. He had an opportunity to speak directly to those folks right now, and he squandered it. He missed it, and instead he trafficked in division and chaos and fanning the flames. Like, what is this mob rule conversation? No, what's currently happening in this country is a reckoning on race. People are protesting in the streets, which is American. It is right, as Vice President Biden has said, to protest brutality. It is necessary. But protesting, what is not right is looting, is burning communities, is violence. And we denounce the violence, but let's just get serious about what's happening here.
But also, Symone, we've got a president who's not only fanning the flames of division and hate, he's literally pouring kerosene on the fire. And I mean, he's one of those people who is saying, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. I mean, he has incited violence, and he has an opportunity, you're right now, to try to bring the country together, to try to bring folks back from the brink to be nonviolent. And he hasn't. And what we saw in Kenosha the other day was a young man who took it on himself to drive across state lines with a weapon and kill people.
Minneapolis, Chicago, and other cities. Joe Biden's campaign did not condemn it. They donated to it. At least
This is a lie. 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 The campaign did not donate to any bailout funds. This is just a lie. But also, let's just be clear. The president often talks about Democrat-run cities. First of all, they're cities run by Democratic officials. Okay, let's be very clear. But there aren't any Democratic cities or Republican cities in America. They're just American cities. And the fact that the president does not understand that, the fact that the president looks at America, looks at cities in this country on American soil and others them, is exactly the reason why he is not the right person for this moment.
Yeah, Symone, he thinks Democratic cities led by Democratic mayors, not my problem. They're not part of my America. It's why they try to, say that, well, if you don't count this state's COVID cases or this city's COVID cases, then we're doing okay, when it's not actually true. But it's because his whole political career, his whole political success has been built on dividing people.
Thank you very much. Great man. Great man. As long as I am president, we will defend the absolute right of every American citizen to live in security, dignity, and peace. If the Democrat Party wants to stand with anarchists, agitators, rioters, looters, and flag burners...
What is he saying? No one... I have to laugh to keep from crying, Lily. This is the current president of the United States, fanning the flames right now. Racial tensions are high in this country. A community is hurting. 7 shots pierced the skin of Jacob Blake. He is fighting for his life right now. He should not have to be fighting for his life. Thankfully, he is alive. This is the president's opportunity to really stand up and exhibit leadership. But we know, okay, that is something he has never been able to do throughout the course of this presidency. And why would he start now? This is why we need to elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. What he is saying is absolutely not true. Joe Biden and Senator Harris have condemned the violence. They condemn the violence that is happening in communities in the aftermath of protests, because that does not serve the goal of protest. He also condemn police violence and police brutality. So let's just be very clear here about this moment and what's happening.
No, he is who he is, Symone. He's not going to change. I think, Senator Harris said that today, but it also is such a, just stark difference where he's trying to play to his base. He's trying to divide. Whereas during the Democratic convention, we had everyone from President Obama to former Republican Governor John Kasich speak at the convention, because the tent is big for Democrats this year.
Liberal politicians claim to be concerned about the strength of American institutions. But who exactly is attacking them? Who is hiring the radical professors, judges, and prosecutors? Who is trying to abolish immigration enforcement and establish speech codes designed to muzzle dissent? In every case, the attacks on American institutions are being waged by radical left. Always remember, they are coming after me, because I am fighting for you. That's what's happening. And it's been going.
But Donald Trump is not fighting for the people. I think what's most jarring about this speech is that the president still continues to see himself as the president of only a small subset of the American electorate. He, though, is the president of everyone. Yes, he is running on the Republican Party ticket, but he's the president of everyone. And I will echo something Vice President Biden said just a few days ago. If he is elected president, he will not just be the president of the people who elected him or the people who voted for him, but he will be the president of everyone.
Well, also, Symone, he's just acting so aggrieved. I mean, he's talking about, cancel culture or people trying to cancel people. He was the one that called for a boycott of an American tire company in Ohio because he didn't like one of the policies. He's against half the country at this point.
The goal of cancel culture is to make decent Americans live in fear of being fired, expelled, shamed, humiliated, and driven from society as we know it. The far left wants to coerce you into saying what you know to be false and scare you.
I'll just point out to Symone, it seems like he's spent more time on this and grievances with the media or whatnot than he did on the virus that's killing 1,000 people every single day in this country.
Absolutely. He's moved on from the virus. And I also don't think we heard anything about Hurricane Laura or folks in the Gulf Coast right now. There are people currently in Texas, in Louisiana, in Mississippi who are without power, who are, it's the middle of the summer. It is truly astounding, the lack of empathy. And again, this was an opportunity for the president to reach out, to extend a hand, an olive branch to folks across this country, letting him know that he will be there for them. But again, he was unable to do it because it is not in his character. It is not who he is.
Who drive their cities into the ground while fleeing far from the scene of the wreckage. These same liberals want to eliminate school choice.
Not true.
Children in the finest private schools in the land.
Also, Symone, remember, 5 days ago, when everybody said on the Republican side, we were going to hear an optimistic convention, forward-looking, a hopeful convention?
Hopeful, yes. Hopeful was a word I think I heard someone use.
A lot of hope you're hearing right now. That's not what this is. This is attack. And that's not somebody that feels confident in where they stand with the American people.
We also don't hear President Trump's plan. I have yet to hear him make an effective and affirmative case for why he should be reelected. This was his opportunity. When Vice President Biden gave his acceptance speech last week, We heard him give a very clear and forceful case for a Biden-Harris administration. We have yet to hear that from the current president of the United States.
No, what we've heard is like a lot of promises, a lot of things that he's promising that will happen in December, in next January, in next February. But, I just you can't take that to the bank given what's happened in 4 years.
An incredible history. But it's all because of you. Together we will write the next chapter of the great American story. Over the next 4 years, we will make America into the manufacturing superpower of the world. We will expand opportunities.
That's what he said 4 years ago, and he lost 250,000 manufacturing jobs.
I mean, tell the truth. Last year was the second slowest year for factory job growth in a decade. Okay, and manufacturing was also in a recession last year. So I'm not sure what the president is saying right now.
One bit. We're taking our business out of China. We are bringing it home. We want our business to come home. We will continue to reduce taxes and regulations at levels not seen before. We will create 10 million jobs in the next 10 months.
So let me just jump in here and say, Lily, even if this is true, this claim of creating 10 million jobs in the next 10 months, there will still be nearly 3 million fewer jobs than in February of this year. That, to me, does not sound like progress.
100%. Also, he's not going to create 10 million jobs in the next 10 months. I think we all know that.
No. Well, to be clear, the election is in less than 68 days. So if we do our jobs,
it'll be Joe Biden and Kamala Harris creating those jobs.
Exactly.
Strike down terrorists who threaten our people and keep America out of endless and costly foreign wars. We will appoint prosecutors, judges, justices who believe in enforcing the law, not enforcing their own political agenda.
I will just note this is also untrue because the Trump administration, while Mitch McConnell has helped push through a number of judges on the federal bench, I will note a number of them have not been qualified. They have been rated as such by the American Bar Association. So, but he will, I will tell folks, he will keep that promise to push through these judges. They may not be qualified, which is another reason, Lily, why people need to vote.
100%. Also, man, this speech is long.
I mean, Lily, it's 11:26 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Oof.
And if we don't win, your Second Amendment doesn't have a chance. I can tell you that.
Not true. Also not true.
Totally protected.
A lie.
We will protect Medicare and Social Security.
He's a lie. He's proposing cuts to both of them
right now.
I mean, he's trying to cut, literally choke off the funding to Social Security right now, as we speak.
We will end surprise medical billing, require price transparency, and further reduce the cost of prescription drugs and health insurance premiums.
Remember, Symone, like a month ago, he was going to have a health care plan? You remember that?
I mean, in a few weeks.
Right.
Lily, Donald Trump is in court trying to gut Medicare prescription drug benefits and end protections for pre-existing conditions right now. He is just really not telling the truth. I mean, goodness.
I mean,
how many lies have been told during the speech?
20 million people who rely and are insured by Obamacare, plus 133 million people who have pre-existing conditions. All those gone, unprotected if he gets his way in court.
The world's best cyber and missile defense already under construction. We will fully restore patriotic education to our schools and always protect. We will always protect free speech on college campuses.
I'd like to know, the president is currently talking about protecting free speech, but he did spend a lot of time tearing down protesters with his words. Peaceful protesters, mind you. So again, Lily, he's been up there for over an hour now. We heard a little bit about COVID-19. We heard him blame a lot of people. We did not hear him take a responsibility for his failure to contain the virus. We did not hear his plan to mitigate the virus. We did not hear his plan to, we didn't hear his plan for reopening schools. We didn't hear his plan for getting working families back to work. 16 million people are currently unemployed. We have yet to hear any empathy for the families who have lost loved ones to COVID-19. What is this speech?
Well, listen, and it's no surprise. I mean, they didn't even pass a platform. The whole purpose of a convention is to say this is what our party stands for. But what the party stands for is Trump. That's it. That's the whole thing. It is a party of one.
Absolutely. And I will just also note, you heard a lot of scare tactics, a lot of doom and gloom, a lot about violence. And the president's counselor, Kellyanne Conway, today, basically, she said the quiet part out loud. The Trump campaign feels that, the more there is chaos in the streets in this country, the more there is violence, the better off their campaign is. And that is such a disgusting way to look at what's happening. This moment requires leadership. And, again, Donald Trump and Mike Pence talk a lot about Joe Biden's America, and you won't be safe in Joe Biden's America. How do you feel? Look around. How do you feel in Donald Trump's America?
Well, I feel trapped in my house, Symone. I feel like most people, where I can't go travel. I can't see folks who I want to see. I don't feel very safe.
Americans have steel in their spines, grit in their souls, and fire in their hearts. There is no one like us on earth. I want every child in America to know that you are part of the most exciting and incredible adventure in human history. No matter where your family comes from, no matter your background in America, anyone can rise.
Well, this is just a contradiction to what he said earlier. I mean, I'll let it go, Lily. I'll let it go.
I mean, it's like, you can't be cutting all refugees and eliminating immigration into the country, and then also wherever you come from, you can succeed.
A new life on a new continent. They braved the freezing winters, crossed the raging rivers, scaled the rocky peaks, trekked the dangerous forests, and worked from dawn till dusk. These pioneers didn't have money, they didn't have fame, but they had each other. They loved their families, they loved their country, and they loved their God. When opportunity beckoned, they picked up their Bibles, packed up their belongings, climbed into their covered wagons, and set out west for the next adventure.
I mean, look, he's talking a lot about Americans I think we can all admire, but he has nothing in common with them. Absolutely nothing in common with them.
Exactly. Lily, I thought I might have tuned into this speech to hear a plan. Tonight, I thought I might have tuned in to hear some factual information about what the president planned to do over the next 60, at this point, almost 67 days, kind of what is the affirmative case yet for his reelection. And I haven't heard that. We heard no empathy. We heard no mention of the climate crisis. We heard no mention of the hurricane that has really devastated folks living in the Gulf Coast right now, that people are dealing with. There are people without power. There are people who have lost their homes. There are people who have lost family members. I heard no mention about the wildfires currently gripping California. People have had to evacuate. Like, what is this speech?
No, it's completely disconnected from what folks are going through right now. It's just that, but that's how he is. Testing's fine because it's fine for him. COVID's fine because it's fine for him. It's all about him. That's all this convention has been about.
As Senator Harris said today in her really what was an effective pre-buttal speech to the president's speech that we hear tonight, where she, in my opinion, really prosecuted the case against him, laid out how he has failed the American people as it relates to the crisis of racial injustice, but also as it relates to COVID. And she said in this speech that Donald Trump, he thinks it's all about him. And she also went on to say, it is not. It is about you. It is about us. It is about the people. Donald Trump doesn't understand that, Lily.
100%. And that's what you saw last week, was that the Democratic convention was all about the American people. It wasn't about just Joe Biden, who we all are proud to support, because he makes it about other people. It's never about him. It's about others. That's what his whole life has been about.
We did it so that two brave patriots could stand tall and salute our wondrous American flag planted on the face of the moon. For America, nothing is impossible. Over the next 4 years, we will prove worthy of this magnificent legacy. We will reach stunning new heights, and we will show that the world, for America, there is a dream, and it is not.
You know, Lily, this speech, first of all, it's long. Okay, it's 11:34 p.m. Again, over an hour. But I will also note, from a writing perspective, this is just terribly unstructured and undisciplined, and it just keeps circling around over and over to the same things. This, you know, when you give an expectant speech, when you give an acceptance speech at a convention, this is the opportunity to speak directly to the American people and tell them what you will do to make your case for yourself, to uplift them, to give them hope. You know, folks get a couple moments in a general election. A convention speech is absolutely one of them. And like many things, the president has squandered this opportunity.
Well, it's such a unique opportunity, really, to give the full rationale for your job interview, for why folks should hire you back. We saw none of that tonight.
Oh, Lily, it's over. It is over, Lily. Oh, it's over, 11:35 p.m. So look, I want to reiterate, you heard a lot of things tonight. You heard a lot of things tonight from the president. I will note, we heard lies, many lies. We heard scare tactics. We heard fear-mongering. We heard him shifting the responsibility off to other people. We heard him blame a lot of folks. We heard him make claims such as bringing manufacturing back and jobs. These things are not true. We heard him try to label Vice President Biden, as he has many years, and nothing is working. We heard a lot tonight, Lily. We didn't hear, though, an effective case for Trump's reelection.
Agree. But it was good to be with you.
It was great to be with you as well. Thank you, everyone, for joining and watching. We will be back soon. Lily, maybe we need to do this again, okay? Maybe every time Donald Trump gets on television, we will pop up and we will bring you the truth, okay?
Way more fun.
Yes. Thank you all again. If you are fired up about this election and you want to elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris this November, text VOTE, VOTE, to 30330 and get involved. We need you. Make your plan to vote. Make your plan to vote early, ladies and gentlemen. We are either masking it up this November or we are mailing it in. But everything we care about in this democracy, our livelihood, folks' lives are on the line in this election, and we need you with us. Thank you.